Dealing with new data for a Type 2 slowly changing dimension using SQL. Here's a step-by-step guide for dealing with a Type 2 slowly changing dimension in SQL. Design your dimension table. Create a dimension table with columns such as primary key ID, attributes, effective start date, effective end date, and a flag indicating the current record. Step 2. Insert new records. When new data arrives, identify if it represents a new dimension member or an update to an existing member. Use a combination of primary key matching and attribute comparison to determine this. Insert the new data in as a new record in the dimension table. Set the effective start date and the current date, and the effective end date to a future date, for example, quadruple 9 for the year December the 31st. Set the flag indicating the current record is to be true. Step 3. Expire the existing record. For dimension members that are being updated, mark their current records as expired. Update the effective date, the effective end date of the current record to the day before the new record's effective start date. Set the flag indicating the current record to false. Step 4. Handle overlaps. If there are overlapping date ranges, adjust the effective end dates of the effective records to ensure there are no gaps or overlaps. For example, update the effective end date of the previous record to the day before the new record's effective start date. Here is the SQL script incorporating these steps. Step 2, because step 1 is just identifying or building your dimension. Step 2 then we start with is to insert new records. So we might do an insert into dimension table of ID, attribute 1, attribute 2, effective start date, effective end date, and the isCurrent flag. Set new ID, new data.id, new data.attribute 1, new data.attribute 2, current date, and 9999-12-31, and then true. From new data, left join dimension table on new data ID equals to dimension data table.id, where dimension table.id is null. That is inserting new records. Now step 3, expiring existing records. Update dimension table, set effective end date is equal to current dates -1 is current equals false where ID in. Select ID from new data in a join dimension table on new data.id is equal to dimension table.id, where new data.attribute1 is not equal to dimension table.attribute1, or new data.attribute2 is not equal to dimension table.attribute2. Step 4 is to handle overlaps. Update dimension table. Set effective end dates is equal to new record effective effective start date -1 from open bracket select t1.id, comma t1.effective start date from dimension table t1, alias t1, inner join dimension table t2 on t1id. t1.id is equal to t2.id, where t1 effective start date is smaller or equal to t2 effective start date, and t1 effective end date is greater than t1.effective start date, and t2 is current is equal to true, close bracket as new record, where dimension table.id is equal to new record.id. Now remember to replace dimension table with the actual name of your dimension table and adjust the column names and conditions to match your schema. Be sure to test the script thoroughly and adapt it as needed for your specific database system requirements.